Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year.
Yep.
Fantasy football fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for all your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From mock drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Ziggy Guns never fail.
What is up, Fantasy Football Fiends? My name is Ziggy Guns, along with...
JT Magnum.
And it is Week 12, Fantasy Football. We're going to be talking about waiver wire pickups, as well as our studs, duds, and papasons. And not much in the waiver wire this week. We're only going to do one person on each position.
Yeah.
JT, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's not much going on last week in the waiver wire. It's not a big, like, you know, there wasn't any like crazy big people coming out of nowhere trying to do anything. So, and now that it's getting close to crunch time, and there's not many bye weeks either after this week, so it's gonna be a little different. But the first quarterback on the list is, or the only quarterback we have, is Matt McGloin from the Raiders. Obviously, Terrell Pryor's hurt, and I don't even know if he's going to get his job back because McGloin played actually really well last week. So if you have a guy like Russell Wilson who's on a bye this week, you have a team player that's on a bye, and you need a quarterback because other teams are hogging quarterbacks. I mean, I'm sure there's other quarterbacks to pick up, but against Tennessee, McGloin might be a good start at home.
Yeah, I agree. He's definitely worth it, especially if you have Russell Wilson, or if you have some of these running quarterbacks that you had to be patchwork, like say you had Aaron Rodgers. There is reports that he should be back next week, not this week. So if you were counting on him being back this week, maybe you should pick up somebody like McGloin. And I mean, just look around on the waiver wire. There is some good quarterbacks that might be still out there. A lot of people have given up on Flacco. He's playing against the Jets, who have looked pretty bad against the pass lately. So
yeah, Eli Manning
like
as well. Eli Manning against Dallas this week. I mean, a lot of people gave up on Eli. He's throwing so many interceptions, but this week against Dallas, I mean, he's capable of throwing 4 touchdown passes. So
exactly.
You know.
So just keep an eye on there. I mean, this is very important week 12, week 13. This could be your season, if you lose this week.
A lot of teams fighting for playoff berths and trying to win those last 3 games or 4 games or so. Like, what is it, 12, 13, 14? Usually it's 12, 13, 14. It's like 3 weeks to go.
Yep.
Or if you start at week 16, then it's 4 games to go. So, you know, these are critical times for you if you're trying to win, and every decision counts. So, yeah, pick up the players you know that's going to score the most points for you. Regardless of if you have to drop somebody, then get rid of them if they're just sucking. Don't hold on to players right now. Yeah.
Yeah, don't be emotionally attached to these players, man, because they will let you down. Like a perfect example, I've noticed a lot of people have already dropped him, which probably 3 weeks too late. I should have dropped him. Is Cameron? I mean, that's a tight end that's been killing me lately, ever since what's his name went down. So. If I would have started Delaney Walker, I would have been awesome.
Yeah, I had Cameron. I dropped him. And then I picked up. I repicked him up this past week because I wasn't sure if Vernon Davis was going to play or not. So I repicked him up, but I never even played Cameron. And Vernon Davis actually scored a touchdown for me. So, but
there you go.
But yeah, drop him. Pick up Delaney Walker. Pick up a Sean McGrath from like Kansas City or something, but we'll talk about him in a second. But let's get to running backs. Bobby Rainey. We talked about him a little bit last week when we were talking about Brian Leonard, and we were saying, that he was obviously the more explosive back, but he's still not going to start. And believe it or not, he's still not starting. Even after that good week last week, he's not starting. But that doesn't mean anything. He's still going to play a lot. Obviously, he didn't start last week, but he got the bulk of the carries, and he got the 2 touchdowns plus 160 yards almost running. So pick him up. He is obviously a guy that is going to get a lot of carries, going to get a lot of touches, and he seems to be getting a lot of yards. It seems like anybody Tampa Bay is using right now is getting a lot of yards.
They have nothing to lose. They have nothing to gain. The season's over. They're just going to go ahead and start playing the young guys and see what they're made of. And you're starting to see that with, obviously, they made the decision to quarterback. And then now with running back, since there's so many injuries, they have the opportunity now to see what he's made of. And, I mean, even though Rainey's not starting, he is going to get the bulk of the carries. Leonard is just not a natural running back. You know what I mean? He's not conditioned for it. He certainly doesn't look like he has the same kind of style as a prototypical running back. He looks more like a fullback, third down specialist, and that's probably what he's going to end up being back again. So Rainey definitely worth picking up. We talked about him last week, like we said. I knew he showed burst in that game whenever he kind of had that 40-yard run. He just looked like he was going to be good, and I thought so. I was like, you know what, that Rainey guy looked like he might be poised for a big one, and sure enough, it happened.
Yeah, and I would definitely, I've said it all year long. If you get a chance to get a running back that just any kind of running back, because people hog running backs towards the end of the year on fantasy football, it's very hard to pick up a good running back. Wide receivers,
Yep.
it's more of a wide receiver league this year, so pretty much wide receivers you can tell who's going to do good this week and next week or so. But with running backs, it's hard to pick them up, and when somebody gets hurt, it's even harder. So pick up guys while you got a chance. But the next guy we have is wide receiver Michael Floyd, who finally had a little coming out party last week. And I will say sleep on him for a little bit because, I mean, it's just one game. I mean, he does have like 600 yards receiving this year. He's doing well, but unless you're really desperate for a wide receiver. But I'm sure there's like a lot of wide receivers out there that you could still pick up.
I think actually he's a great one to pick up because it's starting to look like now that Larry Fitzgerald is healthier, because you can tell he's been bothered all year long, but he's starting to look healthier. His hamstring or whatever it was that he had is starting to look better, which means that they're going to be paying more attention to him, and that's leaving Floyd open. And you can tell right away Carson Palmer is looking his way a lot. He's starting to get some targets. I think this is 3 weeks in a row he's had like 7 plus. So Floyd, I think he's a solid pickup. And if you just look at it based on what Atlanta was whenever they had Julio Jones and Roddy White was somebody that was benefiting from everybody looking at Julio Jones. So that's what I see Floyd as, is somebody that should always have at least 100 yards, maybe not the touchdowns, but at least get the 100 yards out of somebody that's going to be throwing 250 to 300 yards a game.
Yeah.
I say pick him up.
They are playing Indianapolis this week, too. And Indianapolis gave up a lot of yards to Tavon Austin in that Rams offense. So, tight ends, we have Sean McGrath, guy we were just talking about from Kansas City. We've been talking about so many tight ends this year that I think we might have left Sean McGrath out, and that seems to be Alex Smith's go-to guy. And you know Alex Smith likes to use tight ends, running backs,
The dink and dunk.
and the dink and dunk guy. So that's his bailout guy. And they're playing San Diego this week, and San Diego really doesn't have cover linebackers. So I like Sean McGrath this week. I even like Fasano to maybe score a touchdown too. Like you were saying, he scored last week, but I like McGrath. He's obviously the starter. He seems to be Alex Smith's safety net, so to speak.
Yep, I agree. Pick him up, especially this week. You probably tight ends is just so this is the year of the tight end where a lot of them broke out, and then they have some bad weeks, a lot of bad weeks, and then they come out again. So you never know. Like we talked about Julius Thomas and how he was doing. He was on a roll like 7 weeks in a row, and then now he's kind of been mediocre. Same with Cook. Same with Gates. I know Gates kind of got a touchdown last week, but he's been average at best. So a lot of these other no-name tight ends have been doing good. So, McGrath could be the next guy that might be doing great at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So definitely worth to pick up. Defenses, what are we looking at?
Pittsburgh Steelers. They're playing Cleveland. So Cleveland's having some difficulty holding on to the ball, throwing interceptions. They're having some problems, and they're just having some problems offensively as well. And that's, ever since Hoyer went down, they've had problems. So
Exactly.
this is one of the weeks that Pittsburgh going to probably look like, the old defense that they used to be, just because, Cleveland can't really run the ball. Cleveland can pass. I mean, Josh Gordon is just going off, but I'm pretty sure Ike Taylor and the secondary is going to be doubling him. So Josh Gordon might have a little bit of an off week this week, but I see the Steelers either scoring a defensive touchdown somehow. I mean, they had 2 blocked kicks last week, didn't they, Cleveland? It was like ridiculous.
Cincinnati had the most defensive points last week for in fantasy. They just annihilated the Browns defensively. They had 2 touchdowns, right? 2 block kicks, interception.
Yeah, I know they had a fumble return.
recoveries.
Yeah, they had a fumble return for a touchdown. Although Cleveland did get an interception return for a touchdown as well, but they had they gave up like a kickoff or not, a blocked kick blocked punt for a
Yeah,
touchdown. They gave up a fumble return for a touchdown. It was just out of hand. So
exactly.
I think Pittsburgh's going to look good this week.
So yeah, exactly. Pittsburgh has the potential to be at least, even if it's half of that, that's still a lot of points for
Yeah,
fantasy.
yeah. But let's get
All
into
right,
the studs, duds, and papa sans. Our
let's
favorite.
do it.
Who's your stud?
My stud of the week's gonna be Reggie Bush. I like Reggie Bush a lot. Obviously, Tampa Bay has Darrell Revis. They're going to be real focused on Megatron. I think out of all the teams, they're probably going to be focusing on him the most. You know, other teams seem to forget about Calvin Johnson for some reason, but with Revis there, you know he's going to be on Johnson, and he's going to have help. Probably the only time Revis is going to need help, but that's going to leave the middle of the field wide open. And, you know, usually I would say a tight end would be the benefactor of that, but it's always Reggie Bush. He's the check down guy, and I think he's going to have a monster game in the air and on the ground. I think he's going to run real well also. He's been running well. 100 game is possible with him, even a score. I see Reggie Bush having a good game.
Yeah, my stud is going to be Matt Forte against St. Louis. St. Louis has been playing good defense as of late, but they still have a hard time stopping the run. And what does Chicago do? They like to run and use play action passes. So I look for Chicago to have a good game offensively and for Matt Forte to run wild.
Yeah, I actually hope that happens because I have him in one of my big money leagues. Dud of the week. Who's your dud of the week?
Ben Roethlisberger, even though he had the big 4-touchdown game last week against Detroit, he basically single-handedly beat Detroit. This week he's going to struggle. I think playing who are they playing again?
Cleveland.
Cleveland's got a good pass defense. Cleveland actually did well last week against Cincinnati. It's just that they gave it all up themselves. So
Yeah, and also we it's starting to hit that cold time of the year, and especially up there in Cleveland. And if it's a snow game and stuff like that, or real cold, usually this is a run. These two teams especially, it's a run defensive kind of game, running only, 13-10 kind of score. So yeah, I agree. I think Roethlisberger will probably have a very minimal impact if it's bad weather, especially.
yeah, who's your dud?
My dud's gonna be Roddy White. I mean, the Saints' defense against the pass has been excellent. Obviously, Roddy White is their only number one right now, and the number ones are usually the ones that get the most attention. So Harry Douglas might be good, but not Roddy White. And Atlanta just has been struggling. I mean, they benched all their players. I mean, Matt Ryan didn't even get to finish the game. So if New Orleans gets ahead of them 35-0 or 28-0 halftime, I wouldn't be surprised if they're just already looking ahead and start playing other players, because they're at the point right now where they're actually going to have a top pick, and they might as well play for that. So, that could be a blessing in disguise for Atlanta. I think they might be ready to pack it in and just try to go for Clowney.
They need a lot of top players. They are not
Yeah,
the same team from last year.
I agree, but if you have a guy like Clowney that can just completely change the defense, I at this point, if I were the owner, if I were Blanks and all, or having our meetings, what's the point of going for it now? Especially now that you're looking up 8 games back with only 5 to go. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think it's time to if you have a player of the Falcons and anybody's willing to trade for any of them, get rid of them. Matt Ryan, Roddy White, Steven Jackson. Get rid of them. They're not going to play much longer.
Yeah. Who's your Papa San?
No Sean Moreno. Man, the Broncos-Patriots game, I expect it to be high scoring. I especially since it's a prime time Sunday night football. No Sean Moreno is probably going to get the majority of the chances at the goal line. I know it's going to be hard for Peyton Manning to not want to throw 5 touchdowns in this game, considering that he's close to the record on pace. So it's a hit or miss. I still think, though, that the team is going to be smart and use the running back, especially if they're at the goal line.
Yeah, my Papa San's Zach Stacy. You haven't heard from him in a week or two because they had a bye week, but Chicago is ranked second to last against the rush, and St. Louis has been running the ball very well the last few games they have played, and Zach Stacy had a week to pretty much heal that foot. So I look for him to basically go off this week.
I can
I
see.
think he's gonna run all over Chicago. Chicago has no interior defensive linemen right now. They just have. I mean, there's the guys they're plugging in are just like third stringers and fourth stringers right now. So they're having a rough time stopping the run. And that dome in St. Louis, they're gonna be able to run a little faster. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we talked about it before, man. St. Louis just plays tough at home. Who do you think? Who do you got that on that game?
I think St. Louis is gonna beat them.
I think you're right. We'll talk about that on the next show.
Oh yeah. All right, well, that does it for the studs, duds, and papasans and your waiver wire picks. Please feel free to leave comments in the comment section. I am trying to answer them. I had a rough time the last couple times trying to answer stuff because I attached my Google account to this, and I don't know, it was strange. I had to redo it. And
No. There's some people you're not going to be able to reply to because they have to set it up on the Google Plus. So
yeah,
if
I
you're
know.
watching this show,
Yeah, if you're
make
watching the
sure if you
show,
have your Google
if you don't
Plus,
have Google Plus, you can't really comment. Well, you can comment, but I won't be able to respond to you.
you won't.
So
Yeah, you. If you're watching this right now and you have a Google Plus attached, you have to go to settings and you have to allow everyone to comment on you or something like that for us to reply. So if you don't see us replying, don't think we're ignoring you. It's
yeah,
just not going to let us.
yeah, I might have to put at your name in order to reply to you, like so that you can at
Yep.
least see it that I'm trying to reply to you. It's a little strange. Blame Google. They're the ones who are ruining YouTube. So, but that's it. Don't forget to leave those, ask us questions or whatever. I know this is critical time, playoff time, and we're struggling. I mean, well, I'm not struggling to make the playoffs, but this guy needs to make the playoffs in our league.
I am
He's got the
one game
most
away.
points in the league, but he's fifth place.
It happens. It
So
happens.
it happens. That's what happens in fantasy football sometimes. But that's it for fantasy football fiends. Siggy and JT, we're out. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Optimus Magnum and Siggy V. All right, peace.